Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sawcruhteez Streamz, and I am your host, Sawcruhteez, coming back with another update of the market action. Specifically, we'll be looking at Bitcoin and then plan on pulling up Ethereum as well. And if there is any time left, we will look at some traditional markets, S&P 500 and gold. I'm keeping my eye on as well. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. The markets have given us definitely plenty to talk about over the last couple days. Yesterday it was kind of just flat and waiting. We were waiting for it to make a move, and now we're getting a little bit of life back in the market, a little bit more movement back, which is painting some interesting an interesting picture right now. And I do think that Bitcoin is ready for a bounce, and we will be getting into why I think that today opposed to yesterday or the day before. And then we'll take a look at where I think that it may go and what potential signals may be on the horizon. So just wanted to give some shout outs. See Fabric King in the chat and Fibbo Swanee. How you doing, guys? Hope everybody's well. Dan Brister and Floyd and Crypto Goon. Hope everybody is doing well. Dave is provided greetings from Ireland, so that's sure neat. Always love when people are tuning in from around the world. It's really cool to think about what places people might be while they're watching me here sitting in my room streaming live to you guys. So thank you for saying hello, and with all that being said, let's go ahead and do what we came to do and get into some charts. Okay, so this right here is a setup that really looks pretty bottomy to me. And the reason why is we had this big sell-off, consolidation sideways into what definitely now kind of looks like a bear flag. And then we break down below this low. So right here, everybody that was longing, like using, thinking that 82 to 84 or so was support, and that was where a lot of people were buying. Well, those people very often would be setting their stop losses right here below the low of this candle. We could call it the extreme point of this move. The lowest low of this sell-off was right here as we were consolidating sideways. So a lot of people are going to be buying in here and then putting their stop right here. So when we kind of take out that low and then immediately come back above it, to me that really looks like a bottom because it basically wiped out the stops and then immediately reversed back above this area here in the matter of very little time. And we only have 10 minutes until this candle is going to close, so closing back up in here would really provide some confirmation for that to me. And what my mind sees when I see something like this is a high probability of a bullish divergence in the RSI. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Trying to make it as big as we can here. And sure enough, higher low in the RSI, lower low in the price. So this is definitely something that I see time and time again, where you get a sell-off, consolidation sideways, and then a small little move down, which wipes out these stops and creates a bullish divergence in the RSI. So I will be definitely looking for a bounce, potentially all the way back up to 9,092 from here. So let's take a look at what potential signals could be on the horizon. So what I'll be watching for is I wouldn't be buying this personally at all until we broke this SAR. And seeing this nice setup here does make me very interested in opening up a long somewhere in this area if further confirmation comes in. Further confirmation being a breakthrough of the SAR and then potentially a green 2 above a green 1 on the TD sequential. That's the strategy that I've outlined in the second episode of the live coaching sessions is the Sawcruhteez, which is how I use the parabolic SAR and the TD sequential together to potentially make some improvements on the stop loss and then also add some confirmation for the entries. So that's what I'll be looking for here is a break of this SAR. It's getting really close to the price now. We've got a prolonged move like back in here. There was still a lot of room to move down with how far away this SAR is. Now that it's getting really close and this move really is looking exhausted with the bullish divergence in the RSI and the SAR is getting really, really close to the price, that tells me that I expect this SAR to get broken, and if that happens on a green 2 above a green 1, that would be a very interesting entry that I may go ahead and take a piece of that, whether it be a leverage position or buying back some of the spot that I sold above 11,000. That I do not know. I am definitely interested in starting to scale back into my spot, but I do think it's a little bit too early to really be looking for a long-term long. If I'm longing in here, I'm more looking for like a very short-term, just a move up to like 9,000 to 92. And when I'm looking for those really short swings, that's when I'm generally trading on margin. And then when I'm looking for buying and holding for months and maybe even a year or more, that's when I'm starting to get the spot back into play in a bigger way. Let's take a look at the ADX. It is looking awfully toppy, all the way above prior resistance. And now starting to roll over at kind of an extreme area for it. Notice the last time that we got up to this area in the ADX on the 4-hour was when we were, let's see here. I scrolled it back too far, excuse me. When we were breaking through 4,000, right in here. We had a huge move up through 4,000, and the ADX spiked to basically as high as it got at any point in the history of Bitcoin, or at least in the last couple of years on the 4-hour chart. So the ADX is definitely showing strong signs of exhaustion. We do have the selling pressure starting to decrease and the buying pressure starting to show signs of picking back up. So I definitely think that it's going to be pretty darn hard for this thing to continue moving downwards without some sort of bounce due to the ADX and the RSI divergence and the parabolic SAR. Those are three Wells-Wilder indicators that work very, very well together. And when they're all lining up, that's something I pay very, very close attention to. SAR is close to the price, ADX at a point of exhaustion, and then seeing a divergence in the RSI provides really good confirmation. So basically, I wouldn't be making any sort of call until we are able to break this SAR. And if we do break that SAR, I would definitely be expecting a return to 9,000 to 93 or so. We'll say if that SAR breaks, then I am going to be expecting a return to that area. If I get a sequential entry signal, then I'm highly likely to take it, unless it happens when, like, maybe I'm asleep, you know, or away from my computer and I miss out that way. That can always happen. But seeing what I'm seeing here on the Wells Wilder indicators, I am definitely very interested in buying if this thing is able to break through the SAR and then get a green number above a green number. So I will go ahead and zoom out a little bit, see what we can see on higher time frame. Let's get this guy out of here. Look at how much different this is on the daily ADX. Daily ADX is just now starting a trend. It has just crossed 20. A lot of people wait for it to cross 25. It has done that as well. And then look at the DIs. Buying pressure decreasing. Sell pressure increasing. So what that kind of tells me is that if we do get that bounce, it's probably going to be very short-lived. A rapid bounce, that bounces really quickly and then reverses really quickly. That's the 4 hours really showing strong signs that it's wanting to bounce. But seeing this daily ADX is really suggesting that the sellers are very, very much in control, and they're starting to even take more control. Here they pulled back just a little, but instantly coming back. And here we haven't seen anything out of the buyers, just completely falling away. So that's pretty darn interesting and shows a lot of room for this thing to go. Something to definitely pay attention to. And I don't think there's much on the SAR. I do want to see the RSI. Haven't had the daily RSI this low in quite some time. Wow. That's interesting. That daily RSI has been highly prone to bounce around 30, and 30 has provided great buying opportunities in bull markets. Anytime the RSI gets down there, it's basically giving you an excellent opportunity to buy the dip. And then when it falls below, it's kind of suggesting a bear market type of situation. Here we fell way below and bottomed way down here. So seeing this thing fall below here is quite important to me. And then we do want to go ahead and take a look at some horizontals. Best way to do that is generally on the weekly, and we're probably going to need a longer term chart. Okay. So we're just going to go back to basically prior areas of support and resistance. And notice how well, we're just looking at these peaks here. Notice how well they have called areas of support and resistance. Just going back through like the descending triangle that we got in 2018 and using the lower highs on the weekly to draw horizontals. And look, I mean, it's just incredible how here we never closed above, many wicks above, but never were able to close above. Maybe we'll move that up just a hair. And then from there, we consolidated in between this one. Really struggled to go below that area for a while. And then when it did so in a big way. And now it's come all the way back down to this area. So this is another reason why I think that we are ready to bounce. And again, I won't be making a call until the 4-hour SAR is broken. But if I was ready to do so, it would look something like that. Right there. Yeah, maybe it gets all the way back up to 95 or so if we do bounce from here. And then what would be interesting is to see if this trend line kind of holds, which I'm inclined to think it would. Generally, when a descending triangle breaks down, the top of that triangle kind of turns into a new trend line. You keep the top of that triangle as a trend line. So it would be interesting if we got a hard and sharp bounce, basically, what's today, like in this candle, like it could just hard and sharp right up here where the trend meets the horizontal. That would be beautiful. If not, I would kind of think that I would want to see this trend line hold. Well, I really don't care. It would just be interesting to see. Okay, so now let's just go ahead to the next horizontal. And the last horizontal. Okay. So these are my horizontals. And if this guy doesn't hold, we don't reverse from here, then I would be expecting us to come down to 73, 74. If that didn't hold, I would be expecting us to come down to 63, 56. And there is a trend line that Gabriel Harper, who does the live coaching sessions with me, has been keeping his eye on for a while. And it goes something, I think I like drawing it a little different, where we can draw it as like the top of this channel here that it breaks through, throws back to retest for support. It's resistance, 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 support, support. So this is definitely a trend line that I'm pretty darn intrigued with. And if for some reason we don't end up finding support in this area, this would be the next spot I would be looking at. Okay, so I did make a mistake yesterday measuring the move, or 2 days ago measuring the move on the descending triangle. So let's remedy that real quick, and I appreciate whoever did point that out in the comments. I was using from here because this trend line connects so perfectly to that point as well that I used that point down to this low to measure the move, when in reality I should have been using this point because we didn't test the base on this move. Like right here found support before the bottom of this triangle. So if this move here came down and tested the bottom of this area here at like 93, then we would use that peak. But since this sell-off here didn't establish the base of the descending triangle, we should be using this peak. So let's go ahead and do that. So that would be minus 39.30, which would bring us to 53.53, which I should have left that trend line in. So let's see here. Doesn't quite line up with that. trend line, so that's unfortunate. And I don't like seeing patterns that the target doesn't line up with anything else. Like here we don't have a trend line or a horizontal. I mean, you could, you know, draw on a horizontal here, but I much prefer when these targets line up with the horizontals that I've drawn from the weekly. That's when I have a pretty good amount of confidence in that target. Here, I don't like seeing it just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like for it to find support here wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like if we break down 63, then I wouldn't expect 53 to be support. And that's why I really, really want this price to stay above 63. That's kind of my area of, as long as we're above that, I am definitely long-term bullish. If we do break that down, I start getting worried. So, and this is a good example of just how you need to, how it's important to, I just realized my pictures all the way up there. Just this is a good example of how to use different time horizons. Different. You hear me and Toner and other people talk about being long-term bullish, short-term bearish, medium-term bullish. That sort of thing. Having a short, a medium, and a long-term outlook is something that is, I think, very important. And for me right now, I'm short-term bullish. Well, I'm waiting for confirmation, but in the short term, I am expecting a bounce. But I'm medium term bearish. I'm not really expecting, if we do bounce from here to here, what I'm really expecting would be this descending triangle to really at least get us to 63. So this is a good example of where I'm short term bullish right here, medium-term bearish right here, and then long-term bullish. As long as we are, above 63, I am feeling very, very good about, buying this dip heavy, buying in big. If we break down 63, I am going to be adjusting my long-term bullishness. But as it stands right now, I think it makes a lot of sense to throw back to about 92, pull back down to the 63 area, and then take off to retest prior all-time highs. So we are short-term bullish, medium-term bearish, long-term bullish. Hopefully that illustrates that for you. I'm not, making a call yet. I'm just helping you to understand what I'm expecting, what I think is most likely, which is not relevant until we actually get a signal. So for now, we do see that 4-hour candle closed above this low here. So it is definitely still looking like we are ready to go ahead and get a bounce off of that bullish divergence in the RSI. And let's see if the SAR accelerated. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, because this candle, the SAR got all screwed up. I was going to say, how could it be that much different? And when you have a candle like that. Okay, so the SAR can't accelerate below this candle because you can't have a SAR inside the prior 2 candles range. So right now it is stuck above this peak, and if we do kind of hang out down here for another candle, when that next candle opens, this thing could accelerate all the way down here to 81.51. So that's what I was kind of curious if that had happened yet. I didn't remember that we still have another candle to go before this one will kind of fall off. So again, you can't have a SAR inside the prior 2 candles range. So right here, the prior 2 candles range is basically from this high to this low. There can't be a SAR inside of this area. That's one of the rules that a lot of the other SARs forget to use, and it's a very, very important rule. That's how you get, let's just see here. that's how you get these kind of little stutter steps and then big accelerations, which is one of the best parts about the SAR as far as I'm concerned, is that, you're getting a big rally and then you get this correction and you don't know, is this correction is this a dip buying opportunity or is this the top? And the SAR, when that's kind of happening, it steps to the side to allow it to not be broken when there's still gas left in the tank. So notice how this SAR right here, let's see here. Actually, yeah, that's not the best example. So let's take a look back in here. We get another beautiful side step. This would have been printed in real time. We wouldn't have been able to, we would have been able to have our stop loss here and not get triggered in real time with how close that came down to the SAR. And then look at how, instead of continuing to accelerate up, it does a side step, because this SAR cannot be inside this candle's range or this candle's range. So it stays below this low. If it's a bullish SAR, it'll stay below this low. If it's a bearish SAR, it would stay above the high. So instead of it getting triggered right here, it stayed down and allowed for a little bit more move up, stayed down, and then as right here, notice how it came to this low. Because on this candle, you can't be inside the prior two candles range, so it goes at this low right here. And that just allowed you to squeeze a little bit of juice left, and it does it in real time. It's not like this is adjusting away from the price as it comes down to it, which other SARs will do. And that's a huge problem if you're using this as a stop loss. You can't be having it move, away from the price instead of getting reversed. So again, this is the Lucid SAR that Tyler Jenks and I developed with the help of Casey Bowman. It is available for free. Just go to indicators and search for Lucid. Okay. Let me think if there... Oh yeah, there's one other thing. Got a color flip on the monthly using Henkinashi candles, which is very important as far as I'm concerned. So let's get a chart with some more history. And get these out. Okay. So, the Henkinashi candles signal a reversal when you get a kind of spinning top doji, or when you get a color flip. So, notice how well this has been working on Bitcoin on the monthly chart. Say that you don't use anything other than Henkinashi candles. Let's say you would buy around 261, sell around 596, buy right back in at 596, sell, we'll say 95, a little 10x return there, and then you could potentially be going short if you're the type who will fully reverse positions after getting stopped out, which I am inclined to do. Maybe you did that down here and it cost you basically nothing because the price went nowhere and the color flipped back, so you're able to reverse your position. Maybe take a very small loss, or maybe you avoided the short entirely. And then once we got this color flip, look what followed. I'm not trying to say that that's what's going to happen here, but I am saying that monthly color flip is extremely important. And we can see that just using Henkinashi candles, it's possible to really destroy the market's rate of return on a monthly basis if you're just kind of basically buying and selling color flips. And that's where these candles are so powerful, is their ability to recognize trend. So let's just take a look back at how rare it is. So throughout, from October 1, 2015, from the bottom in 2015 to the top, there was one color flip. One color flip that whole time. You know, if you bought in right here, maybe you got chopped in and out a little bit back here, and then you got in here, out, and then back in. That's it. Those were your only trades. Then you hold through here. So notice how we did get a monthly color flip. You know, this looks kind of similar in terms of we got the bottom, we rally hard, you know, like about 300%, cool off, get a color flip, and then immediately reverse. So that's something to keep in mind, that, you know, potentially we're in something like this. We returned, you know, 300%, cool off, color flip. So definitely we'll be paying close attention for it to reflip, and if it doesn't, that would be a pretty bad sign. Notice how basically in these big massive bull markets in 2012 to 2013, you got one color flip that was immediately reversed, and then here in 2016, one color flip immediately reversed. When you get the color flip and it isn't immediately reversed, we've basically entered a long-term bear market every time. Back to 2011. Color flip, not immediately reversed, bear market. Color flip, immediately reversed, huge bull run. Color flip, not reversed, bear market. I think you guys can get the idea there. Color flip, instantly reversed, big bull run. So definitely paying close attention to the Henkinashi candles on the monthly chart. Let's take a look at ETH. Okay, interesting. Notice how ETH did not take out this low right here. We had the big sell-off. Bitcoin took out the low and then immediately reversed back in. This didn't even take out the low. That's a little bit more bullish, showing more demand for Ethereum in this area than potentially Bitcoin has. Let's see if the ADX agrees. Not really. Bear's still in control with the negative DI above the plus DI. We do have a higher low in the RSI, but we also have a higher low in the price. So it's not a divergence, but it is pretty darn bottomy. Makes me wonder if it's going to get stuck in a range here where people are just selling 170 and buying 150. That would make a lot of sense. I do think that this is actually ready to bounce, though, and let's take a look why. We did get the death cross with price pretty far away, so for me this isn't a selling opportunity, but I'm watching like a hawk for a test of the 200 EMA. First time we test the 200 following a death cross with the price too far away is where I like to sell. If I'm not selling the cross because the price is too far away, then I'm looking for a retest of the 200 as my area to sell. And it's interesting to see that we would have kind of this trend line here. Yeah, that's what I want to see, is coming up to test that trend line with the 200 EMA kind of doing like that. So that would make a lot of sense. And what I'd also want to see is that the 50 is kind of spreading out a little bit. Yep, that would be nice. Let's take a look at the SAR. SAR is already broken, so Ethereum's definitely more bullish than Bitcoin. Maybe it's kind of leading the way a little bit. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So seeing that we did break this SAR, we failed to take out this low, I would definitely be watching for us to break this high of this candle. This is a hammer candle. That's a bullish reversal candle right there on a 4-hour chart. That's pretty significant. And if the last kind of bit of confirmation would be breaking above the high of that candle at 165.75 on Poloniex, which I think it just did. Yeah, so that's a pretty darn interesting setup right here on Ethereum. Could be developing a Bill Williams fractal with this low, higher low, higher low, higher low. And we are coming off of a hammer candle that just confirmed. We also just broke the parabolic SAR. So good reason to believe that we're not going to just stay stuck in this sideways range, that we're actually going to get a bounce. Due to basically everything I just outlined. And if that does happen, that'll definitely be a interesting sort of selling opportunity. And maybe that looked a little bit too steep there, so maybe we do something like that, and then we notice where potential horizontals maybe line up as well. So yeah, I would definitely be a seller. If we bounce up here to the 185 area, we've got horizontal. We've got trend, and we've got moving averages. That would be a big cluster of resistance that would provide a good risk reward, and I think a pretty darn good strike rate as well. Okay, so if ETH USD is looking more bullish than Bitcoin, or just a little stronger, didn't take out this low and it's already broken the SAR. If that's the case, we should expect ETH BTC to be potentially rallying a little bit. Let's take a look at that. That's interesting. So here we got the golden cross with price too far away. So the buying opportunity would be the first retest of the 200 EMA. So far, so good. But this is now, if I did buy that, this would be an area to trim and move stop to break even. Because this is not looking very bullish to me at all. Lower high, lower high, lower low, and now look at this resistance from the 50 EMA on the 4-hour, just getting lit up. Unable to close above, wicking above, and now that 50 is rolling over. So if I did buy this, I would definitely be trimming like 30, 35, 40% and moving stop to break even. Yeah, this is painting a pretty interesting picture. We could either use the wicks. Yeah, the wicks look like the best way to do it. So it looks like a new bear channel is forming with these lower highs and lower lows. So something to pay attention to. After a sharp bounce like this, sharp counter trend bounce in a big time bear market, this is something I want to pay close attention to. And if we get this death cross here with price anywhere near it, I would be very interested in re-entering in a significant way. Let's take a look at the daily. It was the So like these last big moves got up to the 200-day EMA before kind of, you see big time bear market, sharp counter trend bounce, and then what happens is you start getting lower highs and a bear channel, right? So there's a lot of similarities to what we're seeing here, but here even looks a little bit weaker in terms of we didn't get back to the top of this channel, and potentially we are only kind of testing the median. Let's go ahead and use a pitchfork to see. Okay, so we would want like something like this, nope. Something like that, I think. Just trying to see how this works out best. I think I like that. I kind of want the MA here, but that doesn't work. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that works. So it does look like we got above that median area right here. I was kind of thinking that that might have found resistance at that area. It didn't, but then it fell back below. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that this move got a lot of people excited, convinced that alt season was finally here, and probably got them to part with more of their Bitcoin, if not if they had any left. Altcoiners generally don't have Bitcoin left at this point of the stage because they're fully invested in alts. So here maybe they put in their last bit of Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. Everybody was very convinced alt season was coming. A lot of people, not everybody, definitely not myself, and it didn't even return to the 200-day EMA. Like these last counter trend moves, like this was a scary one. I remember this. This very much looked like the start of alt season. Moved from 0.025, which was major horizontal support, and it moved all the way back up to 0.04 in very short order. So just notice how these dead cat bounces are getting smaller every time. It's like here we had a huge one, right, from 0.055 up to 0.085. Here we had a big one, and now they're getting kind of like sharper but smaller. And maybe not necessarily sharper, but definitely smaller. See how there's whoop and smaller, and this is the smallest one yet. So this move was quite bearish in my mind, and it looked very, very bullish to a lot of people, but the fact that we didn't even get back to the top of this channel doesn't look good to me, but maybe we do. Maybe we're just taking a little breather before getting back to the top. So there is kind of some battling trend lines happening right now where we do have the new channel developing for the bears, but the bulls are trying to hold on to this guy right here. And if it does, then we should get back up to 0.025, which would be a great, great, great selling opportunity. As far as I'm concerned, we would have that horizontal, and we would have the 200-day moving average, which has been very precise. Okay. So what I'll be watching for is what's going to win out of these dueling trend lines. Is it the bulls or the bears? If this green bullish trend line breaks down, then I will be very much expecting a death cross to follow. That's like my favorite entries. You break down a trend line and then you get a death cross in the same vicinity. That's probably my favorite setup that there is. So hopefully what we see here, what I would be hoping for is like so. So we break down the trend line, the bullish trend line, and then we bounce from the bottom of the bear channel, and that bounce takes us up and into a death cross that I would expect to follow if we break down the bull trend line. You know, something like that would be ideal. Break down the trend line, find support from the bottom of the channel, bounce up and into a death cross. That's what I would love to see. If we do, I mean, basically it's kind of a win-win right now if you ask me, because if this happens, I'm going to be, it's like my favorite setup. I'm going to be, you know, going in a big way. If that doesn't happen, then I should get an even better selling opportunity as far as I'm concerned. If we do something like this, where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's starting to kind of look like this was a third wave here. I really don't know a whole lot about fibs, but that pattern definitely makes sense to me and jumps out at me all the time, where you just have 5 waves to the upside and then an ABC correction. So if we don't break down this trend line, I would expect us to go ahead and rally up, and we've got this kind of broadening sort of channel here, and I would love the opportunity to sell this guy. Maybe it's like that, just like this straight rise like we had here, that gets everybody convinced that alt season is here. And as long as we have death crosses on the daily charts, there's no reason for me to believe that alt season is here or is going to be coming at all. So if this breaks down this bottom trend line, this bull trend line, I'm going to be a happy shorter. And if we really rally up to 0.025, I'm going to probably be a very happy shorter. Okay, so I've got about 15 minutes left. Let's take a look very quickly at the stock market. Just isn't looking good. Had a decent day yesterday and are not following it up today. The one bullish pattern that I am still looking at is this Bulkowski Big W, and it'll often have like a kind of handle, like a cup and handle, and that could be what we're seeing here. Let's go ahead and see how far. We wouldn't want it to retrace past 0.382 for it to be a valid sort of pattern. And look at that. Very interesting how it did not retrace past 0.382 and almost perfectly found support there, and has now gotten back above 0.236. Today is struggling. I guess it's already closed. Did close back below, but that's okay. I like seeing that this rollover toppy sort of action that we're seeing has supported above the 0.382, which keeps this Bulkowski Big W in play. And if we can, just kind of roll over from here, then we would have a pretty darn textbook Big W 5 target or somewhere in there. Yeah. Let's take a look at the EMAs. Beautiful support. Look at that pullback and into the golden cross. Beautiful. Okay, we are getting this to start spreading out again, and price is supporting above the 50. I wonder if it got a bearish crossover with the 9. It hasn't. So Consensio looking rather bullish on the 4-hour, which I like to see. I like to see. This was getting real scary right in here, as it looked like we may be getting a death cross, and instead we rallied hard. And now we are not only supporting above the 0.382 retracement level, but we're also supporting the 50 EMA. So as long as we can continue supporting that, we shouldn't get a bearish cross with the 9. And in that situation, it would look good, like what we were looking for the big W. This kind of makes sense here with the bullish EMA acting as support. If it continues to do that, it definitely looks like we could get that handle sort of thing. Take a quick look at the weekly. Very interesting. Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting this rollover to occur below the prior all-time high. I was thinking that we were going to go ahead and create another, higher high here. So that is interesting. Get out of here. Looks like a potential fractal developing right here. Yeah, we would still be another week away. What do the Hikinashi candles tell us? No, not looking great. That is a reversal candle. Okay, good to know. How's gold doing? Yeah, I've been expecting gold to have a short-term correction here for a little bit now, and it's still looking like that's the most likely move from here. I sold right in here as we confirmed that shooting star, and then I also sold as we, I think, took out this low here. So I am out of my gold positions. I am looking to buy back in on a pullback. So it does look like this trend line broke. You could use that wick instead of the, yeah. You could use this wick right here and say that the trend line is still intact. But I'm not in love with that. I would be drawing it like this in real time. So we'll see about that. Let's look at the moving averages on the 4-hour. So 200 is acting as support, but now we've got a lower high. Makes me wonder if there is a channel to be drawn. Looks close. We'll have to look on a higher time frame. So here we are finding support at the 200 EMA, but that support led to a lower high right here, and now price is getting squeezed in between the two. So watching for that to give us a death cross would potentially be a sell signal that I wouldn't really be too interested in taking, because it is a long-term bull market, long, medium, and short. Basically at this point it's still quite bullish, so wouldn't be super interested in selling this, but may take a little piece. Looks like maybe we've got a head, shoulder, shoulder. I don't like this. If this would have stayed down here, it'd be much more clear. I wonder if we have a different time frame where it may look better. Head, shoulder, shoulder, and then this kind of screwed it up.
Let's see if we got a trend line that can line up with the top one. Not really. Would be more of like a wedge, which maybe we're going to get a falling wedge. That would be interesting. If we consolidated like this and then broke through the top, that would be definitely a buy signal. It would be interesting to see if it comes back to kind of retest this moving average. I don't really pay too much attention to the 12-hour, so I'm not sure what to think of that. But maybe on the daily, this is interesting. Kind of pulling back to retest prior horizontal resistance, somewhere like in here, creating this falling wedge would be something that would be what I would view as a bullish sort of continuation pattern. If we went into a falling wedge and then broke to the upside, that would definitely be a buying opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Anything else to look at with gold? How about quickly at the RSI? Look at how long this has been divving. So we've had higher highs all the way through here with lower highs on the RSI, to the point where the RSI is all the way cooled off, back to, not being overbought at all, even though there's been like this triple divergence basically, where it's like 1, 2, 3 lower highs in the RSI, 1, 2, 3 higher highs in the price. And now for the first time, we've got a lower high in the RSI and a lower high in the price. So that is definitely something that I'll be watching. The ADX is back below trending territory. Wonder if it will roll back up and cross 20 or stay down there and get stuck in some sort of consolidation. Last thing that I'm curious about is this broadening top. You got like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's weird because how like this one doesn't come back to test. It's like a higher low that then tests it. And now here we don't come back to test. It's like a lower high. So it's not ideal, but we've got higher highs and lower lows. So I would consider that a broadening topping pattern. All right, that's going to do it for me today. We'll take a quick look at chat and give a little stretch. Might be a head and shoulders for me in gold. Yeah, I can see that. Let's see if there is anything. You have a special setting for SAR. I use the Lucid SAR. It's for free on TradingView. Only SAR based on Wells Wilder's original calculation that I'm aware of. Search for Lucid and then just the default settings on that. Okay. And looks like some good comments, but I'm too far back to really respond at this point. And thank you for moderators. It looks like moderators have been working hard. Don't hesitate to ban people. I don't even know if that's possible, but just hiding comments if it's consistently, same person and somebody that is not providing any value, somebody saying talk XRP, Bitcoin is slow and tech is shit, that's not something that I will ever agree with. So, have your own opinion, but if you're going to be
just spamming comments about XRP, then that's not anything that we need, around in this chat. So thank you very much, moderators, for holding it down. And like I said, don't feel free to ban people if you feel like they're not providing any valuable input, and they're just making a lot of noise that isn't good for anybody. So thanks again for everything that you guys do. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing this with anybody who you think might enjoy, and for leaving some comments and thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever you feel like. Any interaction is definitely appreciated. If you have constructive criticism, I am all ears. And if you are appreciative, or getting value out of this show, then I definitely appreciate it if you can go ahead and smash those likes and share it with anybody who you think may appreciate it. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. Let's keep an eye on Bitcoin, see if it looks ready to bounce. Now the question is it willing? It may or may not be. I think it will, and if that does happen, it will give us definitely plenty more to talk about tomorrow. So thanks again for tuning in, and I will look forward to catching up with you guys tomorrow.